Hey, everybody. Welcome to MAXtape Live. We're so glad you're here. My name is Lindsay Benedetto. And this...
Whoa, I'm Craig Rector. I'm gone for a week, and all of a sudden you forget that I'm here?
No, what I was going to say is it's so great to have my co-host, Craig Rector, back in office after being gone. So welcome back, Craig.
Thank you. Yes, gone for a week, just chilling with the family in a van down by the river.
Down by the river. Well,
it definitely saved on ice being able to do cold plunges in Oklahoma rivers.
Yeah, that sounds like great fun. Hey, well, seriously, though, we're glad Craig's back in office this week, especially because we had an amazingly insightful conversation with the Luke Pierce, who's an artist manager at Works Entertainment.
Yeah, he's one of the original adopters of Set.Live. And so to see from his perspective, just from the beginning and how he's used it, you're really getting a full kind of case study picture of not just best practices on how to collect that information, what to do with that information. They're going back into markets with some of that information they've already collected. And so advice on how to nurture those relationships and how you can, increase some of those pre-sales and ticket sales, in some markets. And so it's every time we talk with Luke, it educates me. He's just the consummate professional, an artist manager, very creative and innovative. So this is probably an episode that, yes, listen and enjoy, but have a pen and paper nearby, because there's going to be things that you're just going to want to write down on how to be successful in the music business.
Have your voice notes out, because pure gold. It's pure gold.
Yeah. So, and today's word of the day. Today's word of the day is woobles.
Woobles. You got to stay tuned to find out more on that one.
Find out more about woobles.
Anyway, at any rate, stay tuned to find out more. I love it. Well, what's the weather like there for you, Luke? We've got a dreary day here in Dallas, Texas, so it's
actually quite nice for a late October day in Nashville. It was like 78 degrees yesterday, and I think it's going to get, up there, not quite 78 today, but I was just at a coffee before this and was outside at like 6:45 this morning, and it was nice. So we could use a little rain, to be honest, but I'll take it. This is the time of year where the wheels start falling off on weather in Nashville, and it slides pretty hard from a really enjoyable fall to miserable and dark. The worst part about Nashville is just our location in the time zone region. We are far east in the central time zone.
Yeah, so it gets darker faster.
Yeah, it's dark at 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Oh my goodness!
I didn't even realize this. That's nuts to me. How do people make it their entire work day? I feel like I'd be nope, I'm done, checked out. That's tough.
It's tough, and I don't even it's there's some days that if I go out early and I'm bopping to a breakfast, I'm usually starting the breakfast close to dark. It's a little light in the morning, but if I don't go outside for lunch, if I lunch at the office, I may not see the sun that day. So there's just months on end where that happens, which is the worst part about it. We're pretty mild on the other side of things. It's still December. It'll be 40s, 50s high during the day for a couple hours, and then slide into the 30s at night. But the worst part is just, from a seasonal depression standpoint, just how dark it gets for 3 months. So that's why I tend to go to Florida, or this year I'm going to Palm Springs for about a month. Just try to get out of.
Fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
So I love the dreary and the dark. Business in the past, I would love to stay. Everyone's left. It's getting dark outside when, I guess when I had started a business, and it's City Place, and we had an executive suite, and I brought up a little wine cabinet thing, and we had a decanter, and I wouldn't put liquor in it, but I just it was just the kind of
The
madman,
vibe.
the vibe,
The mood. Yeah.
And like I'd have water in there, and I would, I was obsessed with Frank Sinatra, and so I would blast Frank Sinatra. Everyone else is gone. I'd look out the window and over the dark, and I'd look at the lights, and I would just, kind of brood with a highball glass of water. And
so sophisticated.
yeah. But that's I love. But that's how I feel. I just feel like I could conquer the world when it's dark or when it's rainy and dreary.
Yeah, I like that too. But we don't get it very often. So when we do get it, I feel like it feeds my soul. But similar to your situation, Luke, I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and there's that 3 to 5 month time period where it's just gray and a constant drizzle. It's not even like a cool thunderstorm with lightning. It's just rain, unending rain. It really just does a number on the mental health, So
throw on your Patagonia and off you go. It's just like life up there.
Right. It is. Yeah. No umbrellas. If you have an umbrella, you're the loser.
Random question for you, Luke. Do you have, for like home free specifically, bobbleheads or action figures?
We made Legos for home free.
Dude,
guys.
I love that.
And the way that you make Legos is not actually going to like Lego and doing that, but I found like third-party people that basically like get the head of a Harry Potter thing and the outfit of a firefighter and a hat of a whatever. And so they're wildly expensive to make like 5 Legos because they have to go out and like, they just buy all these kind of sets and then pick and choose from these things. So we have some Legos. I don't have any out for me around here right now.
Were these just for y'all or were these, mass produced for some merch?
Yeah.
Yeah, we sold them for merch. We actually did a video that was shot in stop motion with Legos. And so we rolled out limited edition Lego guys for home free.
That's so cool.
And that's publicly available on YouTube?
I know. How can we find it?
It's a video for a song called Crazy Life. And we just, we're probably stocked out on the Legos at this point. I'm assuming we only made like 250 sets of them. We sold them for like, $100 or $150. They cost us like $75 to make. So we didn't make a whole lot of money on it, but it was a cool thing to do.
Yeah.
There's these, like overseas, and so I know about this because they hand paint them or they hand make them to rip off like the Harry Potter or the Marvel, that you pay a bunch of money to get. And my son was just into the characters. And so you can go and you can find, and it's like $5 per little Lego piece. And they,
interesting,
but it takes forever to get. It took like, 2 months to.
You forgot you bought it at that point.
Yeah. So the reason I'm asking is for my desk decorating contest this year, I'm doing so I made a desk organizer, handmade it that looks like a stage. It's got like lighting and everything. And I'm going to be doing a Set.Live activation theme. So it's going to be a Winter Wonderland festival with a stage. And I'm going to have QR codes and all this stuff where people can come and enter for a chance to win something. And so I need a band to be on stage.
Oh.
For this. And I've been debating on, do I just get a generic thing or should I try to, get a famous musician bobblehead, or do I, and so it just made me think, I'm like, Home Free seems to do a lot of cool stuff. And so I was, wondering if you guys had anything.
Yeah. The latest thing I'm working on is a licensing deal for Woobles. I don't know if you've seen what Woobles are. Perfect for like Home Free's demo, but they're like little plush things. They come to you as a kit and you like crochet them together and then like stuff them.
Interesting.
So I just got the proofs for them, but I don't think they'll be ready for,
that's adorable.
They are. I'll send you some Woobles. Yeah.
Craig just Googled him. He's going to pull. Yeah. God, that's cute.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
So yeah,
they looked handmade, but these are like
So
mass
they come
produced?
to you like they basically come like it's like you get like it's like a meal kit kind of where you get
So
a
you make
bag of
it?
yarn.
Yeah,
Yeah, so you make them.
That'll
Yeah,
be
so
that'll
like
be
the
a
whole
big
thing
hit.
is it
I love
teaches you to
this.
kind of crochet, or I think crocheting is the wrong word.
Mm-hmm.
Teaches you to kind of like put these things together. Then it comes with instructions and like little
Yeah, it's
tongs.
crochet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
if you
think it's
think that
crochet.
crocheting is
I gotta get
daunting, you
smart.
haven't tried the Woobles kit yet.
I can already see
Yeah.
the cool social content that you could make with that. The video, a sped up video of you putting together all of like the, the bandmates or whatever.
Or kind of a stop motion of one just like
Oh,
almost
yeah.
coming into being from the
Itself.
ground up,
Yeah.
kind of thing. That'd be cool.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
You're giving us ideas, Luke.
The content around that, and I think just like our audience is primarily female, and I think there's a lot of people that a lot of fans that like bring very cool things to Home Free. It would be like needlepoint or like crocheted things and like VIP sessions. So I feel like it's going to be a massive hit when we roll them out. I'm hoping to get them up by Black Friday, but it's been a months-long process of tracking somebody down at Woobles and then like convincing them this is a good idea and all those things. So yeah.
That's interesting that primary audience for Home Free is female. Is that because they're an a cappella group? Or what are you seeing as the reason for that?
Or is it because they're just rugged, handsome men?
Guys.
I mean,
Yeah, I
wasn't going to go there, but
yeah. I think that's what it is. I think it's, it's like a 65-35 female to male audience. I mean, I think at one point we were probably, even as skewing as like high as like 80-20 demographically.
Dang.
And so yeah, I think it's the guys factor.
Yeah, well, they've got those like low, deep voices. Like I think one of the lead guys, he's got that low, slow Southern drawl.
Well,
that's
Austin Brown.
Yeah.
What's interesting is so let's put this into context. You have been with we've had a professional relationship. So Works Entertainment, Home Free, Set.Live, Max. You've been with us from the beginning, and probably one of the first real adopters of Set.Live after we first launched it, and you guys have been just almost the epitome of not only how to use Set, but you in talking with you about how you approach marketing and how you approach the promotion of your artists and bands are like the epitome of what people should emulate and model in how they approach promotion and data and fan base building. And I mean, even just talking with you right now about Woobles for like most artists, in management, like they're not thinking of that outside the box of like what would be really cool things to do for our fan base. But then that came from an understanding that we have a largely female fan base. We have a lot of crocheters. Like this would be something that would crush it. And then you put it, like you're going to sell out. You're going to sell out this holiday season if you can get everyone to get on top of it so you can be done by Black Friday. I don't even know where that point was going. Like,
you're just like a true Set.Live evangelist and an expert marketer in the field. And so would love to just hear more about how the different platforms you're using to scrape data for the fan bases. Because it's not just Home Free, it's War Hippies. And those two artists alone, you've got other artists who are on the Set.Live platform, but they have raked in thousands of fan contact info using our tech. And I know they have even more because there are other ways that you are scraping that information from, Ticketmaster and other platforms that you're using. So,
well, and then to highlight, so last year's tour, you guys collected about 55,000 contacts using Set.Live.
Yeah.
The War Hippies, we got that video from them, and they were like, just over the course of whatever portion of that tour, they're like, we've gotten more fan contact info just from this short run than we have in the last 10 years of collecting fan, contact info.
Yeah.
I don't know where we hop in because
there's so much, as you can tell, Luke. Craig and I are just like talking because there's so much wrapped up in that. So we want to give you the
Yeah.
floor. Like let's hear from the expert himself.
Yeah.
Well, I do consider myself a Set.Live and Max evangelist because it is one of the tools that we found to be, most effective in scraping first party data for our artists and our clients. And, we were lucky enough to be introduced to your colleague, Jared Goldner, early on when this product was being rolled out, and just kind of saw the upside in it pretty tangibly, very quickly. I think we were doing some shows with Home Free. I think it was our first client that we onboarded, and we had some dates in Canada that were actually like COVID reschedules that had been, punted a couple times. And we had, lamented the fact that our growth in Canada wasn't as rapid as some of our other international territories for that band, and talked about, this was kind of the tour to either make or break our investment in breaking an international presence. And that if we didn't see the sales, we might scale back what opportunities look like in Canada. And fortunately for us on that tour, I think just that tour alone, 20 odd dates coast to coast on Canada, we scraped something like 19,000 emails from Canadian fans, which at the time when we started, we were managing our email and sign up lists. I think at that point on MailChimp, we hadn't moved to Klaviyo, and we maybe had like 2,000 or 3,000 Canadian email addresses in an email list that globally was like maybe 50,000 people. And so, we essentially, 10x that number in a 3 or 4 week tour, and saw some pretty incredible things from what we were doing with that data in regards to open rates, commerce after the fact on our e-commerce sites that we were tracking, just engagements in general from Canada, and for whatever we could attribute that, higher rates of consumption of music on streams. And I think that had a lot to do with what we did with those email addresses. So for us, it was really that first case study together with Home Free in Canada kind of set the tone for us as like, this is a tool that we need to utilize and implement with all of our clients because it's a cheat code. It's just a great way for touring artists that develop their audiences on the road to make sure that they can reach those fans that are there every night continuously. And it combats a serious problem for us, which is a problem that I look at, which is just the lack of transparency and sharing and data between venues, ticketing services, and promoters with artist teams.
Yeah.
And some of that, particularly internationally, has to do with data privacy laws and sharing information, but it's very garden walled. If we were to change maybe venues moving around, returning to those markets, or if we were, for whatever reason, which is rare for us, to change promoter relationships in those markets, we lose all that data. And it all, we're kind of starting from scratch in essence in regards to building a market. So for us, I mean, the funnel for us always is like trying to move fans into like whatever paid subscription sort of model we have for our artists. And Home Free, that case is like Patreon for War Hippies. They don't have like a fan club, but we're the bottom of the funnel for us is always some sort of like late stage permission, whether it be an SMS sign up or an email list sign up. That's what we're doing all the time. And that's like one of the KPIs that we focus our time and attention on. We look at numbers daily on socials, but like the things that we're trying to create, the infrastructure that we're kind of architecting really is it driving people from discovery through content and music to a social like or a follow into something really permission based where we're asking fans for some information like an email address or an SMS sign up, where we can own that data permanently and not find ourselves to be subject to the kind of whim and whimsy of tech platforms in essence. I've lived through Vine, coming and going, and at the beginning of my career, MySpace coming and going. Facebook changing their algorithms constantly for publishers, and Meta kind of moving towards really paid access to that information. And for me, I have not only a business problem, but like a philosophical problem with artists not owning their data. And so Set.live was really one of those tools that immediately, like I said, really was a way for us to scrape that first party data and allow us to kind of affirm a connection between a fan and a customer and our artists. And so we, have rolled it out pretty much with most of our roster at this point, where most of our clients are using Set.live to some degree or other. Maybe it's not every night or every event. Maybe it's on the shows where they're supporting another artist and playing in front of large crowds, accessing, those fans that are, the case of War Hippies opening for Travis Tritt and Blackberry Smoke and Aaron Lewis, they're playing in front of thousands of people a night that aren't War Hippies fans. I want to find a way to quickly make them War Hippies fans, and this is the path to do it. So, for us, it's just been a phenomenal tool.
Yeah.
Do you find much resistance when you have artists who are opening for another artist and deploying Set.live? Do you find much resistance from like the opening artist or anybody? Like, is there a challenge there, or is it pretty much your free reign to manage the stage how you want to manage the stage, and to manage the crowd how you want to manage the crowd when it's your turn?
Yeah, I think it's a matter of courtesy and etiquette, quite frankly. For the cases where we're the management team managing an artist and supporting another artist, oftentimes what I do from the start of things is go to the other manager and say, do you know about this thing? Is whatever the headlining artist using this platform? You should be using it. And here's why you're using it. And here's how my client would like to use it. Are you okay with it? And I've never had a manager say, no, don't do that in any of those cases, which I think is great. But I always am just courteous and at least ask, because I am kind of scraping, their fans' data. And a lot of times, I'll offer to share that data with the headlining artist's management team. If they want to use it, great. If not,
that's
whatever.
Very interesting.
But I just take it from like a courtesy approach. The resistance that I meet sometimes and initially is just how salesy, like the most effective Set.live pitches can feel for an artist making an appeal from stage.
Yeah.
You're kind of stopping, the people that just use Set.live as a QR code on a sign at the merchandise stand, or, even on like an iMag video wall, to either side of the stage or behind the stage on some, video wall sort of thing, versus an artist grabbing the microphone and telling some story and then saying, hey, take 2 seconds between now and the end of our set.live, set.live, go on. We're going to bring you backstage and we'll hang out, have a drink after the show. Would love to see you, sort of thing. That, I understand the artistic perspective from artists that are on stage and don't want to break up their set with that sort of like spiel. But, the first night they do it, inevitably they pick up 30-40% of the crowd, people that are sitting there that night. And, it's a pretty instant high on like, hey, you had maybe 50 email addresses in Chattanooga, Tennessee prior to starting the show. You just played in front of 2,000 people. Now you have 700. The connection to that, and the fact that they have to go on their phones to pick a winner for like a sweepstakes sort of thing, like they see it instantly that night from stage. And I usually have like resistance in a rehearsal or like that first time they use it. But as soon as they go and see that number, we're off to the races, and artists are, that kind of nerve or, trepidation about being sales usually washes away because they've made a really great business case for themselves. So I don't experience it usually from management teams or other artists that we're supporting, but sometimes the artists just say like, this just feels weird. It's not quite as organic as I'd like my show to be. Like those are the sort of things that we have to talk through before before we can get our artists to really be believers in what we're doing.
Well, and many things with music, any new things feel uncomfortable the first time you do it. And so, when you have that resistance, like how do you communicate with the artist that, discomfort is growth sometimes. And and so it's important to do it. Like how do you deliver that message in a way that is as tactful, honestly, as how you approach the opening acts managers and that courtesy, which, by the way, I want to shout out that again is the consummate professional over here.
Yeah.
With how you approach things. So how do you approach that with, how do you approach that with your, those artists? Like, what is that dialogue?
I try to be as empathetic to the artist's creative needs as much as I can but at the end of the day, I'm here to help you with your business. And there is an intersection of, art and commerce that I have to look after. And it's my job to tell you about these opportunities. And so when we kind of look at, artist fan management or customer relationship, whatever you want to kind of call that strategy, this is like often a lever that we pull and talk to artists about how important building this infrastructure and maintaining fan relationships and fan data is to their business and what it means to the revenues and their bottom lines. And so I approach it purely from like start from like a business kind of case study thing. Like, hey, we need to be collecting these things. You need to own this. In the long run, it's going to serve you in X, Y, and Z ways.
Yep.
In the short run, I bet you it feels uncomfortable, but like, let's just go try it in rehearsals. Try it at a show. What's the worst thing that can happen? You do it once and you hate doing it and we don't do it again. And there's an opportunity cost for not doing it, but you're not going to know how it feels and what it will do to your business until you actually try it. So it comes down to a lot of relationship and trust with our artists, and that we're not going to put you in a situation that is compromising your art. We'll workshop with you in a way that feels organic so that it can be something like, and the War Hippies, we'll raise a glass on stage, come take a shot of Jack with us, whatever it might be. Home free, it's,
love that.
Come backstage passes, fans just go nuts for that. Lucky Chops, it's merchandise and backstage stuff. It's whatever feels the best to you in terms of offering to your fans as something that they're really going to want. We can workshop that with you. So I started from the kind of business case perspective, and I try to, work into how the creative can marry into that and feel authentic in a way that represents their art. So, at the end of the day, I'm here to help you with your business. And this is like an excellent way to strategically execute, a data infrastructure play that we're trying to put in play for you.
Yeah. And there's so much value in doing it once and maybe not loving it and then just trying a different way. I mean, I loved what you said about workshopping. We've talked to other artist managers too, who are like, just go out there, do it this one way. And if you didn't like everything about it, let's tweak it for next time. We can make some small adjustments, or we can scrap the whole thing and rewrite a new script, a new way of doing it. But at the end of the day, the worst case scenario is still a best case scenario, because if you only capture 5, 10, 15, 20 leads, that's still 20 more than you had before you walked into the room that night. And if you never ask, it's always a no,
So in talking with you,
it's fun for me to like Ty, like, I don't really get into like, I mean, I do with the artists that care about it or pay attention to that stuff, but we pay attention to things like lifetime value of a fan.
Yes.
Right. And we pay attention to things like cost of acquisition of fans, right? The cost of acquisition with Set.Live is free, right? You have an excellent tool that you offer to us for free. Maybe it's some graphics. Maybe it's not purely free if you're like throwing in some merchandise every night. Maybe it's, $20, $50 worth of cost of goods to you on a nightly basis.
Yeah.
But your cost of acquisition is like as low as it's going to get on a per acquisition basis. Lifetime value of a fan, for most of our artists, I look at like kind of an 18-month window on return for lifetime value in terms of what they're going to provide to you, and not only consumption of music, but, e-commerce, tickets, all those things, it's, anywhere between $100 and $300. So to say to, somebody, to quantify in some way, like, hey, you're playing 2,000 cap rooms. We expect you to scrape roughly 30 to 50% of the rooms. That's 600 to 1,000 people every night at, for easy $100 lifetime value. Like, that's making you right there $60,000 to $100,000. So like, let's Let's just quantify it that way. And your cost for that is minimal.
Yeah.
None of my artists, for the record, think of fans in terms of lifetime value. That's only purely me just trying to quantify it and justify.
Nor do I sure they even want to.
Of course.
You know, like they want to view their fans.
That's cold and inhuman. That's very cold. It's very inhuman way of looking at it. But like that's the way that we approach it, just in terms of measuring financial success on something like that, where we're spending money to go out and acquire fans.
Yeah.
So when you throw numbers out like that, like, oh yeah, we're gonna make $60,000 to $100,000 in lifetime value here by just saying something for 2 minutes on stage and then spending 10 minutes with some fans backstage. The return on that is, where else can you find an opportunity where you can just create value like that quickly?
Mm-hmm. I mean, and honestly, from the fan perspective too, I don't think fans go to a show and feel like they're a number, they're a dollar sign.
No.
They're more than happy to scan that QR code or open their browser because they want to take a shot with the band backstage, or they want to win a free signed guitar or whatever, or a merch, pack, whatever it is. So I love that you use data, numbers to help reframe it in the artist's brain to think about, like, this is really good for business. This is good for long-term success. But then also just having an overarching through line of the fans really happy to give you that info. They want to give it to you. So why not? It's mutually beneficial for the artist and the fan to, engage in the relationship that way.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just have to ask for the permission from the fan. And it's as simple as that. If they're not doing it there, on stage, we're doing it in some other fashion for you. Community manager is asking for comments or messaging people to sign up for email lists on your behalf somewhere else. Like that question is being phrased 10 different ways somewhere else. And this is just like cleaner and more effective delivery of that question.
Well, when you say more effective, it's one thing for you or the man behind the curtain that potentially might be presenting as this is from the artist channels or whatever it might be. There's one thing with that asking for something from a fan, and a fan saying, I like this artist enough to do an action because I like this artist enough. There's a different thing when the artist takes control of that and says themselves, I want to know you. Yeah. I want to build this relationship. Like, I'm on this stage because of you. And so like, let's keep this dialogue going. And so I think it's more than just a more effective way to collect that information. To me, it is that point of connection and that ask of the fan in that moment for that permission that I think strengthens that relationship with the artist.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it was just no.
We're all letting it sit. We're like, that's percolating in the brain. We just had to like give it some space to breathe. It's such a great point.
So there's a couple things that I wanted to touch on that we've talked with you in the past, and that's so everyone knows. Okay, it's important to collect information. Okay, we have a lifetime value of a fan. So what does having that information mean? Like we now have a number associated with it, but what is that activity in between? Like, what do you do with the data? You mentioned earlier that, your fans are a certain percentage female. They have hobbies of crocheting. Like one, what do you do with the data that helps you to kind of realize that lifetime value? How has anything that you use to help you get insights into those fans? Like, where are you going for that? How are you collecting that and gathering those insights? So just what are those kind of tactics of, cool, my artist got on stage, we've got a whole bunch of contact information, now what?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe like one of the places to start this conversation is like what not to do with the data.
That's good.
Which is like one of the classic mistakes I see, being a fan of music and going to shows. Like I sign up for artist email lists and I'm probably on like 15, 20 artists that I love just to see what their tour dates are, new music, videos, whatever they're sending me, sort of thing. The artists, especially, and I see this like a lot in artists that maybe built their business in the 2000s when some of this stuff wasn't coming around, or like the late 90s sort of thing, where it's like you're signing up for an email list, and the next time I hear from you is like 11 months later, or 9 months, 11 months later, whenever you're coming back to Nashville, Tennessee, and just like sending me, a note saying, hey, we're coming back to the Basement East, or we're back at the Ryman, or we're back at Bridgestone, or wherever they're playing. And that's all I've heard from you for a year. You've missed out on so much of my attention and time and willingness to engage with your content during that time. It's just such a bad look to get that information and then do nothing with it for so long.
Now that relationship feels transactional.
Yes.
In that case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now it feels transactional, right? For our clients, what we try to do is immediately nurture that relationship. We have your email address, we have your SMS, sign up now. We have got your cell phone number somewhere. The day after the show, I want our clients to be thanking the fans for coming out. Maybe there's a photo from that show specifically, or some sort of like 2-line anecdote. And maybe there's some pieces of content from stuff that was talked about in the show, like that, or kind of, if a band's out there touring behind an upcoming record, let them know about, like, yeah, we're in the studio right now and we're going to have some more information. If you want to hear from more, click this button. And it allows me to kind of further develop and nurture that relationship and send them more things that they want to engage on. It really allows me to tailor the relationship with the fan and what they receive. So I'll use like Home Free or Lucky Chops as a case study, because their content library, just like on their YouTube channel, is gigantic. There's hundreds of videos from Home Free and hundreds of videos from Lucky Chops. And so, after they get a thank you note the next day, maybe it's, a thank you note that usually is accompanied by some sort of like discount code for the e-commerce store, thanking them for coming out. Hey, here's some things that we didn't have the merchandise table. If you want a chance to pick them up, here's a 30% off coupon code that's good for the next 2 weeks. Check it out. After that, we usually like take like a week or two and then follow up again with some sort of like very low lift content that somehow ties into the experience the fan just had at a live show, whether it be, some videos that are music from that show, new music that we're working on, some sort of update, but just finding a way to constantly nurture that relationship so that the next time that we come back to Nashville, everything that we've been doing. Like, we've been sending you the things that you want to click on, that you consume. So that requires, a depth of understanding about your fans and an organization of your information in a way that's, hard to set up on your own. We utilize a service called Klaviyo, which is our email management software. It's kind of the closest thing to a single source of truth about our fans in regards to like a customer relationship management platform. It gives us, integrations with Shopify, which powers their e-commerce, tells us, where they're spending money, how they're spending money. But it also tracks things like, very often I'll kind of like fish for information from fans, send them, a note 2 weeks after the thank you note with like 3 different videos, and maybe one for Home Free. Again, just as an example, one's like a classic country video. One is a pop hit that has like country dipped twang into it. And one is a Home Free original. Depending on what you click on there, it kind of gives me like an idea of what your interest is in the band. And we can then further tailor communication to be like, all right, this is a fan who's clearly expressed interest in classic country songs. Let's send them more content about classic country. Or maybe they didn't click on any of those things and we have to go fish for more information again too. But there's, subgenres of music that most of our clients create. Lucky Chops the same way. There's a lot of like more jazzy things in their music. There's a lot of upbeat dance things, and kind of bifurcating your fan base depending on what those interests are, and servicing content and tailoring communications to what fans like is like the next step in that.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to find a way to kind of architect and organize that information in a way that your team can use it effectively on a daily basis. And you can't do that without tools like some sort of like customer relationship management program, whether that be MailChimp or ConvertKit or Constant Contact or Klaviyo, if you're willing to shell out the money for Klaviyo,
Mm-hmm.
to do that. So you have to find a way to make that organize your fans by interest, and, by where they're at. It's not just like the purely straight demographic information of let's send emails about Nashville shows to Nashville fans.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, globally speaking, those Nashville fans can be divvied up into like a couple different buckets based on interests, and not all of them, like the same thing. So we have to find a way to organize those fans by interest and make sure that our communication is tailored towards that. So, long-winded way of saying, like, there's a lot of things you have to do after you get the information. I mean, one, express gratitude always to fans. Like, they're the reason we all have jobs. Give them something that is worthwhile for it.
Mm.
But then figure out a way where you can address those fans with things that they want. And so that takes a little bit of like reflection on behalf of management, on behalf of band, in terms of knowing what their brand and knowing what their sound and know what their music is like and what their content's like, So figure out a way you can kind of organize your fans into those sort of buckets, and then architect a system where you can organize by interest and then create content by interest. That's a lot of work I just said there. I said it like very cavalierly and like that's very easy to do. There's like a whole team of people that work on that for most of our clients.
Yeah.
So
it is a lot of work, but I think that it was, I think that it was as simply put as you could.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you kind of open the door for like understanding deeper insights on your fans, because we have a tool that's encompassed in our set suite of tools. Again, it's free for artists, set.fan. I know you guys have used that a little bit. It's in the single account for the artist. And it's, for lack of a better phrase, for the marketers out there, it's progressive profiling. It's sending a quick survey to your fan base to understand their buying habits, where they like to spend their time, whether or not they like, authentic, original country music over some other type of music. And it organizes, it indexes that information for you in the profile so that you can take a look at your fan base and you're like, okay, we need to up the content to this particular group. Let's add some stuff here in this email or, in this text thread. So we're firm believers.
Well, I also want to say that level of data, and I want to know, I know that using set.fan, you can get insights into your fans, like a large majority of them are crocheters, right, or have that interest, but I don't know if that's where, you guys found that information, but that leads to very unique ideas like partnering with the Woobles,
yes,
to create these, little homemade kits that, again, it's not like you're going to be charging $100+ for this particular kit. Now, again, your margins will still be, not slim, but like it's not going to be like, oh, we spent $5 and we're selling them for like $100. So so it is a big risk to invest into that, but it's investing into that with knowledge and with data that this is going to be a smash hit, because it deeply appeals to not just the fact that these fans like my music, but we're understanding who they are, their interest, and we're giving them a way to connect with us in a way that shows that we understand them. And to me, that is, the return on that, not only from the actual product that you will be putting out there, but from the relationship and the connection. When somebody has an Austin Brown Wooble, on their, counter or shelf or whatever, like that's going to be somebody that will exceed the lifetime value, that will be coming to all the shows because they have, the Wooble, and it's, And so it's more than just selling merch. It
Yeah.
is so much deeper than that.
Yeah. Can't be overstated.
And it's not just like a feedback loop into like commerce, right? It's a feedback loop into discovery too, because it tells me, you know, we use the emails that we get for set.live, and we basically turn that data over to our marketing partners, whether it be a promoter, ad agency, our internal team that handles some of these things. And that helps to create affinity audiences of like lookalikes of people that are like the people that are at these shows. How can I find more of those people? But which I think in a way is sometimes trapping, right? You're just making more of those fans, right? And I think like if you've already penetrated a certain type of audience pretty deeply, there's a diminishing return on going after more of those people. But if I can like single out an interest base and say like, you know, for set.fan, we've used a couple progressive profiling questions under the guise of, you know, trying to figure out what our fans want to hear at a show, what type of merchandise they want to see. And that allows us to get all this beautiful, interesting data about our fans' interests. You know, I don't necessarily just always want to reach more people that look exactly like Home Free fans. I want to broaden, or Lucky Chops or War Hippies or any artist fans. I want to broaden that. And so maybe it's like taking kind of a single interest of like, all right, well, War Hippies has a lot of fans that have expressed interest in outdoor lifestyle, hunting, fishing, camping, whatever. Maybe we make content around that and try to capture a broader audience of people that are into all the outdoor lifestyle things and make content geared towards that. Like it opens up the doors for us to be creating content and, you know, populating that top of the funnel discovery work with things that might reach a larger audience and bring in new types of people into the universe for our fans. And so, you know, I'm wary of like the trappings of using affinity audiences to find people that look like your fans, because like I mentioned, it's like diminishing returns. If you're already hitting those people and those types of people, you're already probably doing a pretty good job of finding them. I'm sure there are more people that look like that. It's a big world, but I want to find new ways to open up new audiences for fans. And I think if you get down to the kind of interest level sort of things and you tailor your strategies of discovery towards those things, it opens up a lot more doors too. So it's not just, you know, servicing, doing a great job of servicing the people that you know are there, but it also gives you a lens into what other opportunities are out there in the world in terms of reaching new fans and new audiences. So I'm all for set.fan as kind of if you're asking the right questions to fans that are like going to really give you some pertinent information for your artist to act on. What songs you want to see on our set, you know, what type of merchandise, that's valuable information to me too. But all the other pieces of information we get about their interests, their locations, all the other questions that we can ask fans through set.fan really enriches the data about our fans and helps us connect with them, but it also helps us create new opportunities to reach new people.
Yeah.
Well, and so what you said about, you know, you're collecting emails, phone numbers, set.live. You can take that and you can, you know, put that into Meta or whatever, and you can do some lookalike audiences. But then the more that you know, like you said, if it's outdoors people, like how many groups and targeting blocks can you be like, hey, let's now, like, we know that this about our core audience, that they have these passions. And so instead of just let's, you know, find social profiles or audiences that look similar to, you know, this particular cluster to be narrow, you can now also broaden those targeting blocks to be, let's, you know, camping enthusiasts and like, I don't know, like, and then you start to think about like camping enthusiasts and you like REI, and then it's a trail of like, how can we broaden the relationships and where can we go for additional ideas? And there's going to be people that, you know, again, with Woobles that love Woobles, but maybe they aren't the particular person that would traditionally seek music from an artist that you have, like Home Free. But now this connection to Wooble is like, oh, what a really cool idea, and then that can introduce them to. I mean, so there's just like the more you broaden around interests, the more you're going to be expanding the the reach of who your potential fans can be.
Yeah. And having a diverse, marketing strategy, which includes all these different opportunities, is something we talk about a lot here as well, that you can't really put all your eggs in one basket. It's not simply email, simply text messages, simply social media. It's all of these things combined. I mean, one of the opportunities that having greater insights on your fans allows you to have is brand partnerships. We talk about that quite a bit too. That's exactly the type of information that brands are looking for. So again, just speaks to having a diverse catalog of, ways you can build a good business, career longevity, essentially, for the artist. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking to that branding point too, I mean, every one of my artists wants a brand deal, right? They pay well.
Yeah.
They offer exposure. It's products that they might like or use. War Hippies has a brand partnership with Harley Davidson. They're huge motorcycle enthusiasts, and Set.Live and Set.Fan were pretty instrumental in us securing that relationship with Harley Davidson, because we were able to go to Harley Davidson and say, here's 40,000 email addresses of people that are 65 to 70% of opening our emails. Out of the whatever population of people that have completed a Set.Fan of that 40,000 has given us a statistically significant suggestion that a lot of these people like Harley Davidson. So I think what it does in terms of like managing an artist team is it really gives me precise targets and precise ammo for a brand team, whether that be an agency or a third party person, to say, listen, I have the perfect thing for you. You just need to go find someone at Dr. Pepper and put this in front of them. Say, your reach is going to be X on this tour. You're going to be in front of X number of people. Your impression is going to be this. You can measure that cost, and I can tell you how exactly Dr. Pepper is going to reach, 300,000 fans in 2024. It's by using Home Free here. We drink Dr. Pepper. Our fans say they drink Dr. Pepper. We can put Dr. Pepper in the show in some way. Like, here's all these available inventories for you to sell against for an audience that really wants Dr. Pepper. And so I think it really gives you those sort of specific targets to engage brand teams. A lot of people say, yeah, I want to deal with Delta Airlines. It's like, well, your fans fly Delta Airlines. You might like Delta, but do you fly Delta? Do your fans fly Delta, or are they flying Southwest?
Yeah.
Without that sort of like really hard number data, I have a hard time believing that you're going to get the attention, particularly if it's like a major agency, from the brand department for your, baby act of saying, yeah, this is why you should go call Delta Airlines, So when I can marry a strategy and available interest in inventory for a sponsorship opportunity and hand a deck over to X, Y, and Z partner and say, just go after this and go get it for us. It makes their job so much easier and, shows them a clear path. And I think that's, regrettably, in the brand world, like, that's what managers have to do to get brand deals done. Like, you have to make it so clear-cut case as to why this is a great partnership at the right price. Some of that comes down to luck and timing and corporate spends and what they're looking for and whatever initiatives might be there, but at least you put them in front of them and you have a solid empirical case for why this brand deal makes sense. And if the stars align and you're at the right time and you caught them in the right moment where spends have not been made for future quarters, then you have a really great shot at landing some of those deals. So for us, it's an invaluable tool for deepening relationships with brands and creating opportunities for our clients with brands with data.
Yeah. Well, and over time, with the brands that you're approaching, whether it's just the one time or over and over, you've set yourself apart by being able to provide those types of insights and data.
Yeah.
It's, here's an artist that just says they have these social numbers, and then you have this artist who has those social numbers and then their fans look like the target audience we're trying to reach. And not only that, but here's all the ways that I can actually work with them and I can see my love, and they can start to envision what that looks like. And so it's a completely different conversation.
Yeah.
And so not only do you open yourself up for a greater opportunity to get those opportunities and to close those opportunities, but just for you yourself as the artist manager, being able to separate yourself from everybody else who's not doing that, you're going to be remembered for that.
Yeah.
When opportunities do come.
Yep.
So, we're coming up on time. So I don't know if you have a hard stop, but I do want to, every guest that we have on, we ask them this question, just a fun question. And we put together playlists based on everyone's answers. And that is, tell us what your favorite, first, or most memorable concert was.
My first concert was my aunt took me to Boys to Men.
Okay, let's go.
I spun the shit out of Boys to Men. When that album came out. That was like early '90s.
Yes.
Living in Indiana, and we went to.
I love that.
Deer Creek. It's not called Deer Creek anymore, but for anyone that lives in Indiana, I'm sure you call it Deer Creek. It's the amphitheater outside of Indianapolis now. And that was my first concert. And I remember that very well. I didn't really go to many. That was, probably like 8 or 9 years old.
Boys to Men at 8 or 9.
That's so surprising to me.
So that was my first concert, but I think like the first, and I didn't go to a whole lot of concerts after that until I was probably 14, 15 years old. I had moved to Philadelphia, and my friend Scott had tickets to Coldplay. And I think I had gone to a couple other concerts. I think I went to a Springsteen concert with my dad and a Dylan concert with my dad, neither of which were like at the time the type of music I listened to. But this is like right when X and Y came out from Coldplay. They were still in amphitheaters. We went down to, again, the Tweeter Center in Camden, and we saw the X and Y tour for Coldplay. And I just remember being, insanely moved by that show. And it was kind of maybe the first big exposure to like big production, big sounds, all those things, just show business in general. And so I remember that when I was like 13 or 14 as being like one of the more memorable things that really kind of spurred a deeper interest in music and deeper interest in live music after that. And then, from 13 to 20, I, went to 100 concerts, everything from, small clubs. And at the time it was a lot of rap, some early Kanye, Pink Polo Kanye days were like the soundtrack for a lot of my stuff. And I saw a lot of his shows, a lot of comedy in my life as well too. So I don't know. I mean, I hate to be the stereotypical Coldplay guy, but that was deeply, moving for me.
Yeah.
So nowadays, the shows like that I enjoy. I mean, I'm a giant Jason Isbell fan. Definitely like on my Mount Rushmore of artists in terms of songwriting, performance, everything about it. I've been a huge fan of his, since I didn't quite catch him in the Drive-By Trucker days, but really like Southeastern, that album front to back is just incredible. And so he has a residency here at the Ryman every October. And I've been going to it every year they've had it. I at least catch, one show. This year I did just one. And some years I've done all 7 shows. Shows. But wild Jason Isbell fanatic.
Big Jason Isbell fan, yeah.
And he's the production's nothing crazy. They use Mikey Cummings is his lighting guy, is from Pulse Lighting, he's a jam guy. So there's like a lot of like jam lighting sort of stuff to it, but it's like stripped down and it's like, just a killer 5 or 6 piece band, depending on if Amanda's playing with him that night. And so like that's those are the sort of shows that kind of blow me away. Nick Cave was just here recently in Nashville with the bass player from Radiohead, and that was another amazing show. But for me, if it were like creating a playlist, I don't know, the more memorable things that like move me to laugh or cry or whatever, it's probably something at a Jason Isbell show. Just, he's up there so high for me.
Okay. So this might remove Jason Isbell from this answer, but just because it's new, if you could pick one artist to go see at the Sphere in Vegas.
I shit you not. I just had coffee with my friend Berkeley, who's the manager at Starstruck, and we were talking about the Sphere, and we're talking about when it got to show, and she asked me that same question like an hour ago. So my answer is Tool. Tool at that show, I think at the Sphere would be incredible.
Okay.
So I don't know. I was lucky enough that Brass Against, one of my clients, opened for Tool for their Europe leg last summer, and I got to see like a half dozen Tool shows for free, which is incredible. Especially considering prior to last year, Tool is like infamous for, making a record every like 11 years and touring every 7. So, when they get out there on the road, they're, you better go see them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maynard's 60 this year and Danny's 62, and they're getting up there. So, I think the velocity of their tours they just announced some more dates for next year. But when you look at like what they do with just their stage pieces, lasers, their visuals, everything about it, like the Sphere in Vegas with Tool, I think would probably be like one for me. So my friend was at the opening night for U2, and he said it was just like out of this world cool visuals.
That would be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah. So Mindy on our team, she didn't go, but like, her husband went when we were at the A&A conference, and they went to, and he was just, that was.
Oh yeah, it was U2. He went to U2.
He went to U2. Yeah.
Who would you want to see in the Sphere, Craig?
I don't know. Like the ones that come to my head are all past artists. Like I would love to have seen Prince. Just and so I don't know, like that's where my mind goes. It's just, artists that I've loved that were just incredible performers that had great like you say, like innovation and stage presence and stage pieces and set pieces. Like to me, to see just the mastermind, of Prince and what he would do with that. Like I would just, and we're never gonna get it.
We're never gonna get it.
Yeah.
I would love to see Bruno Mars. Oh, I would love to see like the Silk Sonic show, Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak for sure. That would be, and I've never seen Bruno live, but
I saw Silk Sonic in Vegas. It was great. It's awesome. So, yeah, I would love that. That'd be another good one. I'm not like a huge Swiftie. I saw the Eras tour, and it was phenomenal storytelling visually.
It was awesome.
I mean, she's gonna have to sit down at some point and do something like that and make $1 bajillion, right? Like that's
yeah, a bajillion more.
As if she hasn't already. Exactly, a bajillion more for sure.
And that'll be the thing about the Sphere, right? Is just like when you think about the economics that would go into the pre-production of something like that.
Yeah.
It's have to be a huge artist that could sell out 10, 12, 25 nights, whatever it is, sort of thing, to just justify the startup cost for that. Yeah. You say nothing to the fact that it's a Madison Square Garden venue, and I don't know if James Dolan listens to this podcast, but historically some of the worst deals for artists in terms of like walkout as a percentage of gross at Madison Square Garden. I imagine the Sphere is something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
So just to be able to justify the significant upfront cost of designing production for a room like that, you've got to be a superstar to be able to play it.
I was watching this video. So when U2's not playing or there's not other stuff, there's this movie that you can go see there. And the guy, I guess the director, He's either the director or the producer that, was behind that movie. And again, I'm not even sure the theme of the movie. All they showed was a clip, and it was like you're on a mountaintop, and he said just the equipment. There was nothing like as you're shooting it, and it's like 32 gigs a second of data, which most movies on your laptop are a few gigs total, and then this is 32 gigs a second. And he was talking about like we had no way of viewing, like there's no way of seeing what it is that we're doing. And the first time that anybody on the production team, anybody saw it was when it was played like for the first time at the Sphere, to be like, oh, like this is what we have.
What?
And so it's interesting to think about how they need to conceptualize that space, and that there's nothing else that you can really do to know exactly what you're getting and what it's going to be until it's there.
Yeah, dude.
Like set David Lynch, like let him go nuts in a space like that, thing, like, I'd love to see what something like that could come up with, in terms of like changing, a theatrical experience for exhibiting something like that. I think that would be very cool.
Yeah.
Well, Luke, I probably we'll probably need to have you back on again at some point, because just in past conversations with you, there's, I think, so much more that you have to offer that we just kind of scratched on. So, but it's been an absolute pleasure talking with you.
Yeah. Thank you for giving us your time and expertise. Can't wait for our listeners to hear this one.
Yeah. Just so you know, like when we, we might cut it out, or maybe I'll leave this. I don't know. We'll see. But whenever we have internal conversations about the type of, like who our target audience is, with who we're trying to reach, how we want to build messaging, how we want to build, creative, the things that we want to do. Like, honestly, it is what Lindsay and I and the marketing team have as like our target profile, our target audience.
You're the brand persona.
Like, you're our brand persona.
Luke Pierce. His name is Luke Pierce.
Yeah.
You gotta
marketing expert. Yeah.
Gotta find somebody better looking for that. Yeah. So.
Well, no, because then. Well, no, I was gonna do a quip, but then that would. Yeah. No.
No, truly, we throw your name around in so many different conversations and meetings, like we're besties. Like, oh yeah, Luke Pierce.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Luke Pierce.
But no, have just a ton of respect. And honestly, the more that I learn about how you approach things, again, just learning today about the Woobles thing, like you're, mad respect for you as just a marketer, as a professional, as, so to be doing that in a space, like with Home Free, like I'm sure it's a ton of work, but I can imagine it is so much fun. To be that smart and creative with artists that give you that the platform and space to be able to do that. Like that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate everything that, the Max and Set.Live family has done for our clients and our team, and, enabled us with your amazing tools and help and support to create those opportunities for it. So we're really lucky to, there are very few products that I get behind and endorse wholeheartedly in this business, and you're one of them. And I think it's with great reason that you have not only a top-notch product on the tech side of things, but you have great people backing it, behind it. Yourself included, Jared, Jeff, everybody at Max.
Yeah.
You're top-notch people, and we really love our working relationship with you. And I honestly, if anything, hope that people that are listening to this podcast, learn to understand that, because for managers, for artists, for anyone listening, for marketers, whatever it might be, like, this is, there's real opportunity here. Take advantage of it, learn about it, talk to these amazing people, and set yourself up for your own version of this success. So Yeah, appreciate you all making time, and I would love to come back and talk about whatever you like.
I really want to know. I just love this Woobles idea.
It's still pulled up on the
I
screen.
still have it on my desk. Every time I look over, I'm like,
it's grounded this entire conversation.
Yeah.
But anyway, we really appreciate you, Luke. Thank you so much for your time today. We'll be in touch when we got a rock cut for you to look at.
Well, we hope you enjoyed that episode and you found it insightful. And you know what? Why don't you go ahead and throw into the comments what was your favorite tip or moment with Luke Pierce?
Yeah.
There's lots to choose from. But if you did enjoy it, you know the drill. Like,
follow, share, subscribe.
All the things. And we will see you next time.
Bye, y'all.